What's up, friends? This is Jazz bringing you another For Better or For Worse vlog number, 43. I got two strips for you guys, and the first one is from March 20th, 2007, and I think it's Mike and Deanna leaves April in charge of Meredith and Robin, their kids. And Meredith is, April's chasing them, and she's like, shriek, can't catch me. And April's showing to be very playful, very as energetic as the kids, like swinging Robin around, and, well, Meredith tries to climb her, and then April is lifting, like playing with Meredith on her knees, just playing and all that. They're having a good time. And I think by this point, the last panel, the kids are in bed. She's like, the secret to successful babysitting is to wear the kids out. And April is just very worn out. Like, she looks out of breath, right? Like, she's laid on the couch, her eyes are big, her hand is on her stomach. Right? Like, she's worn out. She's worn herself out. When she says to wear the kids out, she did herself, too. I gotta say, I would not be able to do this. I'm just saying this as a fact. I am not energetic at all. Like, I might be able to chase them for, like, a minute, but I wouldn't be able to just chase them all around, pick up a kid and swing them around, play with a child when I say on my knee, I mean she's holding her knees up, like she's doing leg, rises, only Meredith is literally on there. You'll obviously see what I mean. Like, I would not have been able to do half of this stuff without being what April is in the last panel. Like, I don't know how long April was doing all this with the kids for, but she's just so worn out. For me, it would have taken, 5 minutes tops for me to be as worn out as April is there, which maybe she was wearing them out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, So, I give her props right there. I mean, then again, I would have trouble babysitting in general. I mean, for me, I'm either hyper-focused or not focused enough. If I was put in a situation like that, I'd either be too clingy, too paranoid, and I would be only focused on them. I swear I'd be almost like if I was breathing down their necks, or I'd be very oblivious. So unless I might be okay with entertaining the kids, like if the parent was already in the home and she wanted a few-minute break while in the house, I could probably do that, but I could not be completely left alone with a child for very long. Maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. I just wouldn't trust myself. I'm just knowing me. I'd be okay if I knew someone else was there to handle the really big emergency things. But April, as I said, she is as brave as anything. I suppose when you're a teenager, that becomes a normal part of life, babysitting. And I did babysit a couple of times, and I wasn't, the kid then was okay. At this point in my life, I would not trust myself around. Or when I say that, I mean, I wouldn't trust myself to be alone babysitting a child. I would not hurt them. That's not what I mean. I would just worry what they could do to themselves if I was watching, is all that I mean. That I could go into a panic attack, the thing is, though, nowadays, I believe even to babysit, you need to know the basic first aid, like CPR and all that, and I've never taken a course in that. So, legally, I think I'm not allowed to actually be alone with a child. Well, rule-wise, when it comes to babysitting and being in a daycare, I'm not allowed to be alone. I mean, things have changed, right? There's a lot more safety precautions now. I've half wondered if I should take a first aid class, but I mean, the problem with the CPR is unless there was a method just without putting mouth to mouth, I couldn't do it. Even if I took the class, I wouldn't be able to do it in the class that way. With my OCD, I'd be more afraid of me dying. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I know this sounds wrong, and I don't want anyone to die, especially not a kid. But with my OCD, I would be so panicked that I wouldn't be thinking of that child at that moment. I'd be thinking, oh God, I have to put my mouth, I would be thinking of the child, but I would be, it just, I know, it doesn't make me sound very good at all. You know what? Doesn't. And I admit it's messed up. Right? That's why, again, never leave me in charge of your kids. I might be able to, for example, be the entertainer for a while. Like if you just wanted some time to yourself while in the house, like taking a shower or, making the meal or whatever you had to do, I might be able to play with your kids, right? And be alone that way with them, as long as I knew someone was there. But being exactly on my own when there was no one else in sight doesn't even have to be a full adult, a teenager that knew what they were doing, right? I mean, I had, even if I was partnered with someone else too, and I was just assisting them, like I would not trust myself to be the main resource for a child, which again is why I'm glad I can't have any. Not saying that they can't bring light to someone's life, but everyone is different, right? There's not everyone who are meant to have kids, right? They might be more of a kid themselves. And the final strip is from May 24th, 1981. And this is another interesting strip. It just shows Michael and Elizabeth playing while Michael is watching Elizabeth, and he has a sly look, I think, on his face, and he just whispers "dummy" in her ear, and she starts screeching as Michael's sitting on her rabbit, just whistling. He sticks his tongue out at her and kicks her blocks, and she howls with John looking right, like, angry-eyed at him, and he literally just pulls her into his, like, literally grabs him and ushers him into his room, where he's like, "But Daddy, I never even touched her." And you know what? That is true, guys. Look, clearly in all these strips, it did not show him touching her one bit. I mean, John didn't see that, right? But he was tormenting her. I mean, he might as well have touched her because of how bad his non-touching torment was. Like, I mean, he thought he could get away with it. I mean, you know what, Michael? One little bit of advice. Yes, you didn't touch her, and it was clever that way, but I think you should have been still more subtle. Maybe done one or two little things that still gave you some pleasure if you had to. I mean, that even without touching her, that's just cruel. I mean, he's a kid. It was in '81, so that was like, what, 2 years since the strip had gone on, right? So, just gotta say, Michael is a smart kid. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes he still doesn't quite think. As in one of the strips had mentioned that Michael, I think the teacher, I don't know if he was confirmed as this, to be a non-linear thinker, but Allie literally asked the first grade teacher, what does non-linear thinker mean? So he does think a little differently in a certain sense. He does things a little differently. Like, it's also been proven that he can be very gifted and very smart in certain ways, as Miss Hardacre, when he was in second grade, has noticed in him. Like, she was the only teacher, I think, that was truly what would appear to be harsh on Michael, right? Like, of course, Michael would get detention from other teachers, but they did that to every single student that misbehaved. I think Miss Hardacre, when I mean harsh, I don't mean it that way. I mean, Miss Hardacre was probably the only teacher that gave him attention, in a way, gave him kind of a special focus, when she seemed to pick on him, right? But the fact that he had potential. And okay, I know I'm bringing up Miss Hardacre. She might appear later in this series. So I'm just saying this about the way Michael thinks and the way Michael does things. He is very bright, just not always in the traditional sense, like in school. I think he would have it. I mean, he got better in school when he was, like, in college, but I think for the most part he had, like, street smarts, well, in a way, or he was just smart in other areas. And this does show that he can be smart, but at the same time it was still kind of dumb that he should have teased her a little less, for she wouldn't be howling to the point where John thought he touched her or hurt or, like, physically hurt her. Because that howl would come from someone who was, like, pushed or shoved or something. But it just came from Michael constantly doing things like kicking her blocks and sitting on her bunny and sticking her tongue out and calling her dummy. So he should have at least cut back what he was doing a little bit. That's all really my opinion on that. I mean, okay, I know this again sounds wrong of me. I'm talking about if I were in a danger, if I had to give CPR mouth to mouth, I would probably, poor kid probably wouldn't be there. And then I talk about, well, maybe Michael should have been more subtle with picking on a 2-year-old child. Doesn't make Jazz sound very pleasant or very nice, does it? Trust me, guys, it really is wrong, right? Both situations, it really is messed up. I was just saying that if Michael were to do something, right? I mean, I've never done these things myself, right? I never picked on anyone in that degree myself, right? I've never been a real bully or a teaser. I was always usually the more sensitive type. So I'm not saying this from experience, it's just from a logical standpoint. That is something you should know about me, guys, that I do think, but sometimes I don't always think, oh, what would be the more social appropriate thing? I think more what would the most logical thing. Like, for example, like I logically knew that Michael went too far. And that if he had cut him back, he may have gotten at least less severe punishment. You know, just kind of like that. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel and like what you see, please subscribe. It helps this channel a lot. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so you'll know when new videos are coming out. And I will see you guys in my next video.